And the US is increasing pressure on Venezuela.
Well, it is seizing oil tankers to enforce a naval blockade and adding more troops and special operations aircraft to its deployment in the Caribbean, while strikes against alleged drug boats continue further. Russia and China have criticized the US tactics at the United Nations, calling it cowboy behavior and intimidation.
Venezuela had requested an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council with the backing of Moscow and Beijing. Russia's ambassador to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, has said that the acts by the US side run counter to all key norms of international law. He warned that US could target all unfriendly Latin American states in the future.
And the responsibility of Washington is also evident for the catastrophic consequences of such cowboy-like conduct for the residents of the country, which is now located. Unfortunately, we have every reason to believe that these are not one-off acts by the US vis-à-vis Venezuela. This intervention, which is unfolding, can become a template for future acts of force against Latin American states, in accordance with the so-called Trump Corollary and the Monroe Doctrine, which was enshrined in the recently published U.S. National Security Policy.
The Chinese representative said that U.S. actions and rhetoric have led to continued tensions in the region and urged Washington to avoid further escalation.
China opposes all acts of unilateralism and bullying and supports all countries in defending their sovereignty and national dignity.
U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz responded to the criticism by saying the United States will do everything in its power to protect our hemisphere, our borders, and the American people.
President Trump has been very clear that he is going to use the full power of the United States of America, the full might of the United States, to take on and eradicate these drug cartels which have operated with impunity in our hemisphere for far too long, and everyone knows it.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has reportedly sent additional special operations aircraft to the Caribbean. The Wall Street Journal, citing a U.S. official, reported that at least 10 CV-22 Osprey tilt-rotor aircraft, which are used by Special Operations Forces, flew into the region on Monday night from Cannon Air Force Base in the state of New Mexico. According to the report, C-17 cargo aircraft have also arrived in Puerto Rico.
U.S. President Donald Trump accuses Venezuela of using oil to finance narco-terrorism, human trafficking, murders and kidnappings.
Caracas denies any involvement in drug trafficking and maintains that Washington is seeking to overthrow its president, Nicolás Maduro, in order to seize Venezuelan oil reserves, the largest in the world.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
At the UN Security Council, tensions between the United States and Venezuela took center stage. UN officials warned that stepped up U.S. military operations in the southern Caribbean, including strikes on vessels suspected of drug trafficking and the interception of Venezuelan oil tankers, risk regional instability and may violate international law. Venezuela accused Washington of imposing a de facto air and naval blockade and breaching the UN Charter. The UN human rights chief said that the strikes could amount to unlawful killing. However, the United States forcefully rejected those claims, saying that Washington does not recognize Nicolás Maduro, calling him head of a designated narco-terrorist network and vowing to enforce sanctions, including against oil shipments allegedly funding drug cartels. Russia's envoy to the UN condemned the U.S. blockade as illegal and, quote, a real act of aggression that could set a dangerous precedent, backing Venezuela's call for council action. China similarly voiced opposition and called for a more measured approach and urged restraint and dialogue. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.